So, good day everyone. Me and my fellow reporters are here to discuss about the lesson 2. So, we are the group 2, and this report or this discussion will revolve around the medieval philosophy and the modern philosophy and the philosophers, the prominent philosophers that have made significant contributions during those specific periods. Medieval philosophy existed from 500 AD to 1350, so it is roughly between the period of the fall of Rome and the Renaissance. This philosophy is theocentric, which is the belief that God is the central aspect of life. So this philosophy is from the scientific investigation on nature and search for happiness to the question of life and salvation in another realm or in a better world, which we call as the afterlife. So it also has influence, or it took influence from ancient thought that the human or the self endures through time. So this philosophy it is rather imposing than informing because it was trying to aim at paganism and barbarism. It continued to be characterized by its religious orientation, since the problem discussed throughout this period are the relation of faith to reason and the existence of simplicity of God and other complex topics. So the aim of this philosophy is to bridge philosophy and religion among any other religion. Since we already have a background of the medieval philosophy, now I will be introducing one of the prominent philosopher in this period. So the first major philosopher in the medieval period was Augustine. So from 354 to 430 AD, he lived his life. He emphasized attaining knowledge through divine illumination and achieving moral goodness by loving God. So he is a saint of the Catholic Church, and his authority in theological matters was universally accepted in the Latin Middle Ages and remained, in the Western Christian tradition, virtually uncontested till the 19th century. So he believes in the Platonic realm of idea or forms, and the Christian philosophy of a transcendent God, that the self strives to achieve union with God through faith and reason. Plato's theory of forms describes the divine to be in the invisible, perfect, and intangible world. And St. Augustine believed that Plato's theory of the forms was compatible with his Christian beliefs because of a vision he had while trying to picture God. So now that we are already done with the medieval philosophy, now we will dive into the modern philosophy. So this philosophy circles around the questions: how can I be sure that the self exists, or what are the proofs that the self exists? So to give you a little bit of information regarding um, the modern philosophy, here are the key details about it. So this philosophy started from 14th century until the early 20th century. So unlike medieval, that is theocentric, this one is anthropocentric, which is centered on the human person. So thinkers began to reject the scholastics or the medieval thinkers' excessive reliance on authority. So the core of modern philosophy is basically to refuse traditions, social historical biases, and to question one's own experience of things. So this modern philosophy is considered as the period of radical social, political, and intellectual developments. So some key characteristics that define modern philosophy are the focus on gaining knowledge, scientific issues through inquiry, rational logic, and skepticism and individualism. So genuine knowledge has to be based on independent rational inquiry and real-world experimenting rather than dependent on knowledge handed down by authorities. So that's what makes modern philosophy different from medieval philosophy.
René Descartes, irrationalist. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Human identity, self-awareness, a thinking thing. It can exist independently of the body, but doesn't deny the association of the body to the self. Dualism, a thinking self versus physical body. The spiritual self, governed by the laws of reasons and God's will, surpass the physical self, governed by the laws of nature. Yet, the intimate connection between the soul and the body is undeniable. John Locke, an empiricist. Knowledge originates in our direct sense experience. Reason plays a subsequent role in figuring out the significance of our sense experience and in reaching intelligent conclusions. The self is not necessarily embedded in a single substance or soul, but exists in a space and time. Every aspect of the physical body integrates with personal identity. The body changes, the physical self changes. But the self matures because of the memory. Conscious awareness and memory of previous experiences are the keys to understanding the self. David Hume, empiricist, skeptic, and nihilist. There is no self. Empirism are impressions of basic sensation of experiences. Ideas are copies of our impressions. Impressions form a fleeting stream of sensation. No constant and invariable self that exists as an unified identity over the course of life. The self is a bundle or collection of different perceptions which exceed each other in an inconceivable rapidity and are in perpetual flux and movement. Immanuel Kant contests Hume's idea by alluring to the with primary experience of the world that is not disconnected stream of sensation. A prior concepts, fundamental organizing rules or principles built into the architecture of the mind, which categorize, organize, and synthesize sense data into the familiar fabric of our lives, bounded by the space and time. These are innate. Unity of consciousness that makes the world irreachable.
Who is Sigmund Freud? He founded the psychoanalytic school of psychology. The self is multi-tiered or multi-layered. Conscious is governed by the reality principle. At this level, behavior and experience are organized in ways that are rational, practical, and appropriate to the social environment. The unconscious contains the basic instinctual drives, including sexuality, aggressiveness, and self-destruction, traumatic memories, unfulfilled wishes, and childhood fantasies, thoughts, and feelings that would be considered socially taboo. Who is Gilbert Ryle? He is a physicalist. Behaviorism, no more dichotomy by denying the inner selves, immortal souls, states of consciousness, or unconscious entities. He believed that the self is defined as terms of behavior that is presented to the world. The self is a pattern of behavior, the tendency or disposition for a person to behave in a certain way in certain circumstances. Paul Churchland, a physicalist, eliminative materialism, grounded in neuroscience. The mind or self is the brain. Edmund Husserl, the father of phenomenology. We experience ourselves as a unity in which the mental and physical are seamlessly woven together. Maurice Merleau-Ponty, he believed in the lived body, an entity that can never be objectified or known in a completely objective sort of way, as opposed to the body as object of the dualists. There is no duality of substance but a dialectic of living, being in its biological milieu. Embodied subjectivity. Both Husserl and Merleau-Ponty agreed that our living body is a natural synthesis of mind and biology. Phenomenological approach describe the phenomena of the lived experience or reducing biases by describing what your immediate responses are, physically, emotionally, and cognitively.